doing Osmanthus heterophyllus, or common name, Holly osmanthus. The leaf arrangement is opposite. I got it right that time. Leaf form, simple. Leaf margin, entire, and spine.
Okay, I'm going to stop Reese right here for just a second. It gets its name Holly osmanthus. You can see inside here some very holly-like leaves. Probably more holly-like to me than Fortune's osmanthus. It still has a bright midrib, but not the same bright venation that we tend to associate with Osmanthus fortunei. But as you come out, look at those leaves. They lose all of those spines and tend to just have a terminal spine with a relatively smooth margin. Or look at that guy. That guy has an oddball spine on the side there. But cuttings on this for ID purposes can be tricky. Look at that new growth there. No spines except at the terminal. So this plant can have some variability in its leaf form.
Its plant type is shrub. Its habit is broadleaf and evergreen. Its height is large.
Yep, this guy needs a little bit of a rejuvenation pruning, I think.
The form is oval. The soil preferences are it prefers acidic soils, but can withstand any higher pH.
It can withstand a higher pH as well. It prefers acidic, but it can withstand a higher pH.
Moisture preferences are not applicable, and then the pruning info tolerates heavy pruning.
Yep, so that means that the rejuvenation pruning I just spoke of, this is an ideal candidate. And this is the same specimen that was here when I was a student 20 years ago. And if you dig in, you can see this guy has had some rejuvenation pruning before. I don't know, see those big cuts? So this plant has been brought way back before and allowed to flush back out with new growth. So that's an important thing to note. Some plants you can't do that. Some plants you can cut them way back and you have effectively killed them. This guy will withstand it.
The growth rate for this plant is slow and average.
Slow to average.
Yeah. Its exposure to light is like sun and or partial.
Yep.
Its climactic hardiness zones are 7 through 9. Its landscape uses are for corner foundation, hedge, and screen. Flowers are showy. They are very fragrant.
It's an osmanthus. Osmanthus in general is known for its fragrance.
It blooms the flowers bloom in the fall, and the colors are white.
Yes.
The fruit is insignificant, although our specimens are old.
Yes, and so that's what I'm going to say. When you look it up, fruit is technically insignificant, but our specimen here in the gardens is incredibly mature, and it sets fruit every year. And so you can see these are in various stages of ripeness. So the greens are less mature, getting to the purpley blues are more mature. I have not ever harvested these for propagation class, but that could be a fun thing. As they start to mature, I'll harvest some and stick them in the fridge, and we can experiment with them in the fall in propagation.
I doubt they're edible.
I would not think that they're edible.
Because you don't have it marked.
Yep.
The autumn color is not applicable. Leaf texture is medium. It has other leaf details. It's various leaf forms on mature plants. Notable bark characteristics is not applicable. Notable cultivars, variegatus, which is this right here.
Right to the left of Osmanthus heterophyllus is Osmanthus heterophyllus variegatus. So variegatus has a very bright green and white variegation. I have this in a pot that I bought at one of our plant sales a few years ago that I'm actually really loving using it as a container garden specimen because it has such nice bright variegation. In a couple years I'll have to find a place for it in the landscape. But when you step back, I can't say how old variegatus is compared to the mother plant here, but I think that it's probably going to wind up staying much smaller, much more compact. It's not on this list, but there is another variegated form that's very popular called Goshiki. Goshiki is very small, very compact, very slow growing. So I think that just must be a common attribute of the variegated cultivars.
One more cultivar is Gulf Tide.
Yep, and so we're going to walk up the hill here because we do have Gulf Tide.
And Gulf Tide is more cold hardy and is prominent and has prominent spiny margins.
Okay, so this is Gulf Tide. So you can see right over there is the info gazebo. This is Gulf Tide. Again, this is another very mature specimen. This is the same one that was here when I was a student. But like Reese said, look at how spiny these plants are. Look how deep those undulations are in the leaf. So this one is very distinct. I don't see any fruit on this one like I did on, oh, I take that back. Look at there. There's some fruit on this one, but not nearly as profuse as on the specimen down the hill. But that's the interesting thing to point out, is that you're not seeing the varying leaf forms on this cultivar like you are on just plain old Osmanthus heterophyllus. And you know, Reese said this is more cold hardy. Osmanthus are more southern plants, so that's important to note if you're heading a little more north than here, that you might want a more cold hardy selection.
The pests and diseases, none that are serious, like
Nope.
it is not NC native, not US native, not invasive, and we're not sure if it's salt tolerant or not.
Yep, no, I couldn't find anything about its salt tolerance.
Other information, it is very dense. Durr describes as a shrub of impenetrable construction.
Yeah, if you ever take time to read Durr's descriptions of some plants, some of them stand out, and I'll usually write them on the form. But when you think about how spiny this is, I would agree with his description of a shrub of impenetrable constitution. You're not going to get through this. So this is a good people stopper shrub. And that is, we don't list that here, but sometimes that's what we use shrubs for, is to stop people from walking where we don't want them to go. So this would be an ideal candidate.
Because this one's spiny, and it would make sure that people would not even think about
Yes,
going through.
yes, yes. So this is in Durr on page 771, and as I noted, we're about midway of the hillside garden. It's right across from that beautiful variegated dogwood. Look at that. Look at those leaves with that little rosy glow on them. Aren't those spectacular?
Plant nerd.
I am a plant nerd, and I hope you guys are maybe finding time to come out and enjoy the gardens, or maybe just walk around your neighborhood. I've had several people talk about how they're testing themselves in their own yards. They have plants that they have some of these plants and they never even realized it. So there are ways to creatively test your skills. Talk to you later.
Bye.